Supposed to be Umberto Pella, so a last-minute switch with Akum coming in.
Yeah, it's going to really be dependent on the experience of Paul Visa to lead this back line. Industrious fullback, getting up and down, assists in the last 2 matches. Look for him to be that catalyst coming out of the back and whipping in crosses.
Yeah, Pella, again, we'll try and get word if we can, but he was listed in the original starting 11, no longer. On the other side for Jeremy Gunn, it is a loaded Stanford side, Michael.
Yeah, and it's really been up to this front two of Jackson Keel and Shane DeFlores. Shane DeFlores, I love what I saw from him in that match against Clemson. Really, that sort of nose for goal striker. Great movement off the ball. If you give him half an inch, he will take 16 miles. He is that good. Keep an eye on him tonight.
Yeah, you've got goals from everywhere, this Stanford team. Again, among the best in the country, 10 different goal scorers. Virginia trying to find a way to piece goals together so far this season. It is Stanford in the black. It is UVA in the orange. And away we go from Klockner Stadium. Happy to have you with us this evening on the ACC Network. Alongside Michael LaHood, I'm Joe Malfa. First ever meeting as conference foes between these teams, the 4th overall. They have not played since the NCAA tournament back in 2016. Early corner here for Stanford. Cardinal trying to jump ahead early. The service cleared away. And Virginia holds strong. Stylistically, Michael, this is going to be an interesting one tonight. In chatting with Jeremy Gunn, the Stanford head coach, said you never quite know what you're going to get out of this Virginia side. They have the capability of turning it into a direct physical game, yet they're also a team who obviously loves to possess and dictate the tempo that way. And until the whistle blows and you start getting going, you're never sure which Virginia team you're going to get.
Yeah, is it going to be the one that went to Cal and kind of labored a bit? And already Shane DeFlores looks like he may have taken a knock. Let's keep an eye on that. Calling over the trainer.
We see this a lot to give this a look.
Yeah, we see this a lot with strikers, and DeFlores definitely gets a hand right in the face. Hopefully he's okay. Gets up to his feet, shakes it off. Might be a little bit frustrated, but it's part of the game. You're not going to get too much there, but this is the point of video review, to see if there is much more in that. I didn't see as much in that. You're allowed to do that. Maybe stand your ground a bit. Sometimes it's a clumsy reaction where you don't know where the striker is, but I wouldn't give that a yellow or anything more.
I think he wants it to be a red and a penalty, which, based on what you're saying, Michael, you're not seeing a case for either of those things, but that's what Stanford seemed to be arguing.
He makes the contact, but what I see is a bit of a reflex. Now, if he cocks his hand all the way forward and makes a swinging motion, then that's grounds for a penalty or a red card, but this is a big decision. Wow.
Well, let's play on. You've got Virginia arguing now, why not a yellow for simulation on the other side? I don't know if that's something you could go back and litigate. But, well, no. After a slow and interesting start to this one, Michael, with that stoppage, we get going again with that behind us.
Yeah, I was waiting with bated breath, thinking, uh-oh, we're in the era of video review. We're marquee matchup, Friday Night Lights, and we're going to start it in this way. I like that from tonight's referee. It's going to be a physical matchup. Virginia loves to play physical. Stanford, they love to get back with that physicality and match that. So let the game play on.
Try from distance here, and it doesn't miss by much from Zach Bohane. It was saved by Petruni out for another corner, and Stanford is off to a hot start.
That's a good save from Joey Petruni. Kind of a nervy moment from him with that video review call, but This is what Stanford is so good at. It's just quick release from Bohane. As a midfielder, you want to test the opposing goalkeeper to see if he's up to snuff on a big night like tonight. And just the technique he has.
Not taking any chances. That might have been going wide anyway. In swinger from Bohane. A second corner dealt with early on by Virginia. Bohane settles. Flag did stay down. Virginia thought he was offside. Whips it a dangerous ball. And it's cleared. Player down now on the UVA side. Paul Visa. And again, already down, Michael. Umberto Pella, who was in the original starting 11. Last minute scratch. Victor Akoum replacing. How big of a miss is Pella not in the starting 11 tonight for Virginia?
It's a big miss because he's that metronome in midfield, reads the game so well, but also such a good decision maker on the ball. And when you're going to play against a Stanford side that defends well, they can go press you, but also they're a side that can sit in a mid block or low block and make it really difficult to break you down. You're going to need a player like that in a match like this, and let's see if Brennan Lamb can be that catalyst for Virginia tonight. Very different profile, likes to get the ball to feet, good in tight spaces. Maybe getting him to run at the opposing midfield and break through is the key to success.
Visa jogs off the knock and is okay to continue. Off the throw and given away by Stanford. Umberto Pella had started every match so far this season for Virginia. One of those foundational bedrock players for the program he's turned into. And on the flip side, his replacement, Victor Akoum, only 2 appearances this season for 18 minutes getting the start tonight, and he did not appear as a freshman last year. So it's a drastic difference as far as who was supposed to start versus who ends up starting.
This is a baptism by fire, if you will, to go up against one of the best teams in the conference and one of the best teams, top 2 teams in the entire country. We'll find out a lot about what he's made of on a big night like tonight.
And here he is defending Akoum, number 17. So he's down this left side for Virginia, the right side for Stanford. And you could make the case that the right side for Stanford is their strength between Bohane and DeFlores. So he will have his work cut out for him.
He definitely will. Bohane loves to play in those half spaces already. He's coming in like a natural center midfielder like he is, and that makes it so difficult. If you're a left fullback, do you tuck in or do you stay wide for the overlapping wingback coming in to provide that width for Stanford and get service?
Out of the back, it's Dylan Hooper for Palmer Bank. Palmer and Fletcher Bank, brothers down that left side. Very different profiles as well, but both supremely talented. And Coach Jeremy Gunn calls Fletcher Bank a true winger, loves to drive, take people on. He might lose 10 battles, but he'll go right back for the 11th. Then Palmer Bank was a player who got a goal early in the season. Goal came in that win over UC Riverside. He started every game now. Redshirted back in 22 and has blossomed into a regular starter. And that's a theme here, Michael, for this Stanford Cardinal outfit. Not going to see a lot of transfers, not going to see a lot of grad students or anything. The bulk of the roster, sophomores, juniors, and homegrown talent that has grown together over the last couple of years.
And there's still that quality that comes back from a season ago, from the Pac-12 transforming to the ACC, and that's a key word. This team is transforming right before our eyes. And a player like Fletcher Bank, all Pac-12.
Bohane delivers, punched by Petruni.
Petruni's had some good early saves and good early goalkeeping decision-making on display. Good to get the punch out, but more important to get it out high, far, and wide.
Stanford coming in at 7-1-1, number 2 in the coaches poll, number 6 in RPI. Difficult test tonight for a Virginia side that's unranked. That's 106 in RPI. Try and bolster their resume. Virginia been close in their last stretch of games. couple of draws and a loss, all against good opponents, the likes of Maryland, Wake Forest, Duke. Haven't had a win yet this month. This would be a massive victory if they can pull it off against the #2 team in the nation at home. Welcome to those of you who were watching Syracuse, Wake Forest, and some field hockey before this one. We're at Klockner Stadium in Charlottesville, Virginia, as #2 Stanford visit Virginia for the first time as ACC foes. With Michael LaHood, I'm Joe Malfa. Glad to have you with us for this one on the ACC network. Early on, it's been Stanford foraying forward a bit more often than Virginia. It seems like they're looking to get a quick start here, Michael. This is a Stanford team that has really been able to just dominate over the last month or so under the guidance of that man, head coach Jeremy Gunn. And right from the opening whistle, they've been all over Virginia.
Yeah, it's almost like a side that's prodding and poking to see which is the right key to unlock this Virginia back line. And you got to do a bit better than some of the crosses and some of the long distance shots, because I like this goalkeeper for Virginia, Joey Bertrand. I actually played with him when he was an academy player coming through the ranks at San Antonio FC. So a lot of faith in him then and a lot of quality on display tonight.
One thing that Virginia has excelled at this year is their defensive efforts. See there, the sub-1 goals against average for Bertrand. Coming into the night, 15th in the country, a .71 goals against average. Just 5 goals conceded through 7 matches as a team. And their hands full against the Stanford side that has been scoring at will. Now pushed in behind. Flag will stay down. Now it pops up before Fletcher Bank could do anything with it.
Right on cue. We talked about Stanford really taking the onus in the early minutes of this first half, and that triumvirate of Fletcher Bank, of Jackson Keel, and Shane DeFlores is one to keep an eye on. Whenever one of them, of the front two, drops deep, Fletcher Bank will be the one. Although he's a winger, he loves to make really incisive and high intelligent runs off the shoulder of defenders in between the two center backs. That is something that Virginia has to marshal throughout the course of this game.
Stanford not afraid coming on the road. Only 2 losses in their last 22 road matches. That's a 12-2-8 mark overall. On the flip side, this place has been a fortress for UVA. Only 4 losses in their last 23 at home at 14-4-5 overall. So something's got to give here. A team that's been terrific on the road in Stanford, a team that's been terrific at home in Virginia. Something to keep in mind as that last ball drifted all the way down to Stanford goalkeeper Rowan Schnebly. It is incredibly windy here in Charlottesville, so you never know when that ball pops up in the air on a night like this, and we'll see if either team tries to take advantage of that and purposefully try to go for goal from distance.
This is why it's so important, if you're a captain, when you go in for the coin toss, you keep that in mind. You go with the win, especially if you're a Stanford side that's coming down the road. And maybe if you're playing with the win, you try and be aggressive and see if you can take long-distance shots. We've already seen Zach Bohane test Joey Bertrand early on in this match, so let's see if Stanford picks that up.
And those of you who joined us post-field hockey here on the ACC network, one item of note on the Virginia side. Again, it is Victor Akoum, a last-minute starter for Virginia. That's something for Jeremy Gunn to think about. Maybe something he didn't know even up to a few minutes before kick. It was supposed to be Umberto Pella, one of the top players in this Virginia roster in the midfield. He's a last-minute scratch. Akoum comes on, and it's just his first career start. He's played 18 minutes this season. He played no minutes last year as a freshman. Now he gets to start tonight against the #2 team in the country. And Michael, it's down this left side where one of the other interesting lineup decisions came into play tonight for Virginia as well, and that was freshman Luke Burns getting his first career start instead of Parker Sloan. So you've got a freshman and a sophomore down this left wing who are each making their first career start tonight.
I'm excited to see what Luke Burns can do. He's industrious. He loves to gamble on the press and also to make runs off the ball. And I think for head coach George Gelnevats, we see a little bit of afters with the foul there. it's just trying to see if something can give with this Virginia Cavaliers side. And I remember my head coach at Wake Forest, Jay Vidovich, would do this all the time just to put a little bit of shock into the system of the team, to wake something up to see if we can get things going offensively.
And the other shock of the system is Kome Ubogu starting up top. Only his 7th career start. He's been a fixture for Virginia over the last 4 years, but typically that spark off the bench. 13 career goals, 12 of those off the bench for that man, George Gelnovac, in his 29th season now. This one will be out for a goal kick. Gelnovac in charge of this team, 2-time national champion, going up against Jeremy Gunn, a 3-time national champion. There are a lot of trophies on this field tonight. There's some trophy in the stands as well. Saw that Bruce Arena's taking this one in, up in the crowd. 4 straight national titles that he won in his own right. So he holds that accolade with the opposing head coach tonight. And Jeremy Gunn, the only 2 coaches to win 3 consecutive national titles. Bruce did it 4 times in a row. Jeremy Gunn 3 times from 2015 to 2017. So, Michael, the point being, a lot of national titles accounted for in this stadium tonight.
Yeah, it's a lot of ACC and NCAA men's soccer royalty in the house tonight. Shout out to Big Bruce. I grew up in the D.C. area watching him, and going down to Charlottesville watching those Virginia Cavalier sides, the Claudio Reynas, the Jeff Vegas. I mean, you just go on. Some of the household names that we associate with Major League Soccer and the success of the U.S. men's national team. And Bruce was the architect of both the Virginia sides in that dynasty, and just the longest run the U.S. men's national team has made in the modern era. 2002 World Cup, and that was such a big impact on me as a young player to see him coach that side and to have that sort of success. It gave me something to dream about that led to my professional career.
Everybody who's been involved in this game at the college or pro level probably has a Bruce Arena story, whether it's playing for him or it's some bad memories going up against him, because we know he's had plenty of success.
Yeah.
Here is Luke Burns, again, the freshman getting his first career start tonight. Back to Akum. See how long those 2 go together before any moves are made by George Gelnovac. Is it a wait and see kind of thing with those 2 guys? Does he like what he sees and leave them out there? Time will tell. Uncharted territory for both down this left-hand side for Virginia tonight. We'll try the right-hand side now. Romangarov sent in for Albin Gashi with some space. Gashi looking for Burns, and it's blocked. Back for Akum. Victor Akum goes for goal. So they don't lack in confidence, both here on their first career starts. Had the shot blocked from Burns, and then Akum has his own effort.
This is what I was talking about with Luke Burns in terms of being willing to run ahead of the ball, which is very different from Parker Sloan. And I love the first-time effort, but just right before this opportunity started, as we see here, sweeping move from Virginia. Alvin Gashi, I love what he does and what he brings. The timing of the movement, but the decision-making in the final third. And look, it doesn't come off this time, but just the patience. It's not there yet. Why not have a go, young man? Get it off your foot. But just before this sequence happened, Joe, there was a play where Victor Akum had 3 Stanford players collapsing in a pocket. He showed composure, took a touch forward, and broke the press off the dribble, then made the simple pass to Burns, and then Virginia was able to reset and get the ball to that right side to kickstart that golden opportunity. So good awareness from the 2 youngsters early on.
Good early returns from those 2. Hasn't necessarily been good early returns for Virginia as a team in the early going this season. Off to this 2-2-3 start, under some pressure now. Stanford wanted the foul to be given. Referee saw it differently. Play continues. Riley in a sea of orange, trying to find a way out of it. He does. It's Bohane on his preferred left foot. He's already shown a couple of times that he's willing to go for goal, but this one well off target.
It's good work from Will Riley to win those second balls, and that's gonna be so important tonight, especially if you're the away team. Second balls are those character moments that can change the momentum of a game. Virginia just had a golden opportunity on Burns with the blocked shot, the right-footed effort, but because Riley doesn't give up on it, he's able to create a half chance for Stanford.
Getting back to this slow start for Virginia with that 2-2-3 record, there is no panic in this group. They were in a similar position last year, but George Gelnevich doesn't really want to rely on talking about last year as a crutch. In essence, he doesn't want this team to all of a sudden just have the expectation that you snap your fingers and they're going to have the exact same turnaround that they had last year. It is a lot of the same guys. It is a lot of that same foundation, but they are going to have to work for it. And a difficult test here tonight against the number 2 team in the nation on your home turf. Now last year, that Virginia side into the tournament as the 7th seed. You had Stephen Honor, who you lose now to MLS, was a freshman of the year. You lost 78% of your goal scoring after you made it to the 3rd round of the tournament and lost to Indiana. But again, they were in this similar position. You see they're 4-3-1. Here they are at 2-2-3. And Michael, it's not been for a lack of performances. If you go through the last month where they're winless in the month of September, performances have been good. It's a 1-1 tie on the road against a Maryland team that's ranked. 1-0 loss against a good Duke team. 1-1 at Wake Forest. 1-1 at Cal. They haven't put everything together, but the performances have by and large been positive for Virginia.
This is a Cavalier side that's competitive, but there's a big difference, and these are where the fine margins come along and how you grow in confidence between being a competitive side and a resilient side like Stanford is. If you may not be playing your best in spurts, but it's all about what you do in both boxes. And when you look at a player like Stephen Adnor, he would be such a big difference in a team like this because defensively they're solid, and already we see the physicality of this game, and Burns getting there, and it's a correct call. I think that's Will Cleary that gets clattered into. A lot of emotions are going to be going high for Virginia players because they want to be the turnaround game in this match, and this to be the catalyst for them to get back to winning ways. But to finish up that point about just the lack of consistent goal scoring, that was the big turnaround for them last season. Was Mo Tiem another player that's not in this team anymore? If you have those 2 players back in this side, it'd be revolutionary. But look, it's a part of college soccer. Certain players get opportunities to further their career, and credit to Andor for deciding that, hey, I've done my time in Charlottesville. Now it's my time to shine at the next level.
I'll throw a 3rd player in there. Leo Alfonso, gone to Inter Miami, playing with Messi now and factoring into their scoreline this year a couple of times. He's missing as well. Now a free kick for Stanford. It's Bohane and De Flores standing over it. Bohane runs over it. De Flores strikes it into the wall. Wall does its job, and now cleared further away by Akum. Riley over the top. Haven't synced up yet with Jackson Keel as they played in behind. Slotted through. And now flared ahead, looking for Bank. Defended by Paul Visa. And out for a throw. Number 13, Georgia Tech highlights our next 2 Sunday featured volleyball matchups. They host number 1 Pitt this weekend at O'Keefe Gymnasium. And next Saturday, they'll square off against number 5 Louisville, both beginning at 1:30 Eastern right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Gearing up for another long throw here, Palmer Bank. He's got an open Groneveld right there at top of the box if he wants to go short instead here. As Virginia's defending that long throw. He does go long. It does bounce. They get the intended result from it here. Cannot capitalize. They're always looking for that ball to bounce, somebody to pounce, or maybe get that flick on. First time, they couldn't get it past UVA. That time it nearly worked out, and now the Cavaliers want to go ahead. Heavy collision here. Will be a free kick for Virginia. And we're going to see our first call to the match as well, given to Will Riley.
It's a good break from Virginia, and led by the young man, Victor Akum. Really growing in confidence, and since that first golden opportunity Virginia had, it really came off of him taking space right in front of him, and Riley knows what he's doing, and maybe a little bit of jumping out of the way from Gashi. But this all starts from Virginia being aggressive on the counterattack. Stanford having a lot of the possession just goes to show you, the more Stanford puts numbers up in attack, can get that false sense of security.
Now played in from the free kick, and it just missed the head of Nick Dang, who was lunging forward. Dang already has 3 goals on the season, the transfer out of Lipscomb.
That's Daniel Mangaroff, just a left foot wizard. He's such a quality set piece deliverer. A lot of bodies clattering in around, but I love that set piece delivery. Whip it in right between the back line dropping and the goalkeeper. A lot of times it's a nightmare for a goalkeeper, because if you come out, that ball can ricochet off one of your in-rushing defenders and go in your own goal.
Nice move here by Gashi. He's taken down. Physicality really ratcheting it up here. We saw it early on. Now a cart both ways. It was just Riley for Stanford, and now it's Austin Rome for Virginia.
I think Rome and Dang have done an excellent job of being physical with both DeFlores and Keel up top for Stanford. In the first 10-15 minutes, you're getting some kind of nervy moments, and skill check right there from Gashi. No stranger to providing big moments for Virginia in his last couple seasons, but right there, the referee gets it spot on. Maybe it's just consistent fouling and consistent infringement for Virginia that leads to that yellow card.
Has been physical in the early going here, nearly halfway through half number 1 at Klockner Stadium in Charlottesville. With the former national champion at Wake Forest, Michael Lahoud, I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have you with us this evening on the ACC Network. A historic first between these two teams. Their first meeting as conference foes, but not the first time they've met overall. 3 previous occasions, the last 2 both coming in the NCAA tournament. You know, Stanford's been there at the very end very often. Same goes for Virginia. We've seen them meet 2 times, 2016 in the Sweet 16 and 1998 in the Elite 8. Now they'll do it on a near annual basis here in conference play. And we are all the lucky ones to be able to see it on a regular basis now. Nice turn by Jackson Keel, gets in behind Akoum. Keel still pressuring, and Akoum in his first career start, holding up well.
Excellent defending from Akoum. You get beat the first time out, but it's all about cutting off the angle of Jackson Keel. He doesn't look like a young defender on this play. Look, use your strengths in there. You cut off the angle. You know you have Keel beat for strength, and then the just persistence to see that ball out. That's the sort of commitment that Virginia has shown defensively in this early part of the season. Yeah, I love just the fire in his belly to yell at the referee, yell at your teammates, get something going, and just right there, just making sure he gets the angle and then sees that ball out. Top-notch defending.
Again, in the starting 11 tonight for Umberto Pella, who was listed in the original starting 11. And then a last-minute scratch as Pella came out after warm-ups, and Akoum came in. Pella had started every game so far this season, made 18 starts last year as well for UVA. Junior from Milan, Italy. Had a domino effect that saw Brendan Lamb swap from his normal left-back position into the midfield, and Akoum slot in at left-back.
I think this benefits,
goes all the way back for Schnebly.
I think this benefits Virginia in the long run, because Lamb's naturally a center midfielder, so he's been playing out of position at left back. I got to see him the last 2 seasons, the last 2 iterations of TST at the soccer tournament.
Oh, he gives it away here to Keel, who chips the keeper, but just getting a slight touch on it is Petruni. I'm going to chalk that jinx up to you talking about Lamb while he makes that mistake. That's your fault, Michael.
That's a TST. TST in his backyard. Maybe he thought he was still playing TST. And Petruni shaking his head, saying, oof, had a belly out there. And, you know, it's going to take a bit of time when you've played left fullback and you get in the midfield. Sometimes there's excitement. Speaking of excitement, Petruni feels excited for this matchup. He's made about 3 or 4 saves in just this half. That's the best one of the bunch. Keel right there doesn't take the right angle, tries to go for the dink chip, but because Petruni makes himself big, goalkeepers watching at home, even when a striker's coming in barreling on goal, always make yourself big. It gives you the highest percentage chance to make a save like that.
Actually got it with his forehead when all was said and done. Fletcher Bank racing in behind. Bank tries to center, and it's out for a goal kick. Another brilliant bit of defending on the back end here. Paul Visa getting involved. This is the calling card of this UVA team. Defend, defend, defend. Again, only 5 goals conceded through 7 matches.
Everyone's showing that sort of commitment that is typical of a George Gelnevat side, and definitely played against my fair share of Virginia teams that just frustrate you defensively and then get a goal against the run of play or get a goal when you least expect it. Now I'm waiting to see who's going to be the one to step up to give that match-winning touch.
Now they've been close. Had a lead against Wake Forest. We're right in it against Maryland. Lost to Duke. They've been buttoned up defensively, but they haven't been able to capitalize at the other end of the field. And George Gelnevat pointed specifically to that Wake Forest game on the road. They score a few minutes in. They have a penalty in that first half to take a 2-0 lead. They don't. Wake Forest scores a worldy free kick, and it finishes 1-1. Those are the matches so far on their schedule that he looks at in retrospect and say, well, that should have been a win. We performed well, but we didn't take our chances. Now it's Fletcher Bank again, this time earning a corner for Stanford.
I remember watching that match against Wake Forest, and I was in disbelief how well managed Virginia approached that match, and to get the first goal and to really rely on the quality of defending that you have this season. Football can be cruel, and soccer can be a cruel game, and take nothing away from the quality of the free kick that Wake Forest was able to score. I mean, I jumped out of my seat. I'm still unbiased. You can guarantee that. I'm still unbiased, Joe. But football is like that sometimes, and soccer is like that sometimes. You think that you put 89 minutes of quality playing together, but you got to be complete for the full 90.
I was about to say, Michael Lahoud watching Wake Forest. Who knew? From the corner. It's the 3rd of the match for Stanford. None on the other end for Virginia. But so far, Virginia has held strong on each of these corners. Stanford has not even sniffed an opportunity.
It's down to the size of Virginia. The big players, and I think Akum really helps with that physicality in the box.
Here's our Week 5 ACC Network Saturday football lineup. Begins at noon Eastern with Boston College hosting Western Kentucky. Then it's Wake Forest. I know Michael Lahoud will be tuned in, hosting Louisiana. We'll cap the night with Florida State and SMU at 8 o'clock. Syracuse will also play host to Holy Cross at noon Eastern on ACC Network Extra and ESPN+.
Funny enough, it was homecoming week last time out for the Demon Deacons, and my father-in-law, Tim Fisher, he was there. He's a fellow Demon Deacon as well, a few years older, if you will. And I texted him saying, hey, I saw Ole Miss is coming, and I looked at the scoreboard, and, well, it wasn't to be for the Demon Deacons that day. Hopefully a better result is on their way.
Well, you know that if the Demon Deacons are playing in any sport collegiately, you will be tuned in. The question is, how long will you be tuned in for, depending on what kind of day they have?
In first quarter, at least.
That one was just over the line as Visa tried to go long with it. So far, it has gone, I guess, as we expected in a way, Michael, where Stanford have been more of the aggressors. Virginia's held strong, but maybe that's what these substitutions will do here for UVA. Try to give them more of a foothold in the attacking half. Coming on, A.J. Smith and Triton Beauvoir.
Credit to Virginia for surviving the early onslaught that Stanford was trying to bring. And look, it's one of the best attacking sides in this conference and in the country coming to Charlottesville against a sound defensive side. This is what's going to happen, especially early on in conference play. I want to see what happens when players start getting tired. I mean, Stanford came across the country to come to Charlottesville, so tired legs will start kicking in. Virginia's been defending, and defending really, really hard and connectedly so far this first half. So gaps are going to open up in these final 15 minutes.
A.J. Smith coming on. They're hoping he could provide a spark in the attack here. Virginia had a lengthy conversation with George Gelnevach about the attack as a whole, but in particular with certain guys getting going. He mentioned A.J. Smith by name, the sophomore transfer from Tyler Junior College, had 18 goals at the JUCO level last year. Missed the first few weeks of the season injured, made his season debut off the bench last week for a half an hour, and really looked dangerous. They're hoping to get him up to full speed quickly and see what sort of impact he can have. Same can really be said about player he replaced in Hayes Wood. Graduate transfer from Lipscomb. Missed all of last year with a torn ACL. Hasn't really broken out yet. Finding a rhythm in a new environment after the transfer, and also his first handful of games back from that torn ACL. So that's really the theme right now for Virginia. It just feels like they're a ticking time bomb waiting to go off and explode offensively. We just haven't had that countdown hit zero yet for them to have that moment.
That'd be such a game changer for them.
Edge of the area here. Chance for Stanford over the bar from the floor is on the giveaway at the back by Virginia.
Once again, Stanford marshaling down this right-hand side, and as soon as we were giving Virginia a lot of flowers about how solid they've been, it's just that little bit of a switch off. Look at the gap. Akum, he thinks that Gashi's got it. Gashi's just tired. He's been running the length of the field. If you look at the floor as it's leaning back, that's why that ball just rockets over the goal, and there's a technique letting him down there. You got to put your body over that shot for it to be more of a decisive finish.
Well, the good news for Stanford here, this is the furthest east they'll have to come again this season. In the regular season, at least, that is. Already this year have gone on the road and earned victories over Clemson and Notre Dame, ranked number 2 and 23 at the time, respectively. Only 2 losses in their last 22 road games as a whole. So they've already grown into these ACC road trips, and for Jeremy Gunn, it's really nothing new. Stanford every year have opted to play a very difficult non-conference schedule. Michael, that's meant road trips out to Maryland, out to Georgetown. They've come east often. It's nothing new to them. Another ball put in by Fletcher Bank, cast aside. So in the whole conversation of the big bad travel coast to coast here in the new ACC, Stanford, maybe more so than some of the other clubs that have been involved now, not phased in any way. Jeremy Gunn used to this.
And you really see it in their approach to this match. It's teams that come from one coast and go to the other. You don't want to be chasing the game, because that travel will show itself as this game goes on. The ball becomes your best friend, and Coach Gunn's telling his side, keep the ball moving. No one can move faster than the ball through the course of 90 minutes, especially when you're playing against a stubborn Virginia defense. Stanford's created their best chances when choosing when to up the tempo, especially in the final third.
And they'll make their first change now. Alex Chow coming on for Jackson Keel. Chow has played every game this season, started 4 of them. As a pair of assists, came up through the San Jose Earthquakes Academy. Freshman from Palo Alto. It's one of those themes that we continue to see crop up week in, week out, working together, Michael, where you have these players who already have pro experience. Alex Chow fits the bill. 38 appearances in MLS Next Pro, debuted at age 16 for San Jose. So already has those big minutes at a high level before coming to Stanford and the ACC.
And I think we're going to see a maturity in this play on display. And with him coming in, Fletcher Bank is going to go up top in place of Keel. And I like that for Bank. His most dangerous contribution came with him functioning more as a pseudo number 9. Look for his pace to cause some problems for Virginia's back line.
Fletcher Bank, a pair of goals and 4 assists this season, reigning co-offensive player of the week in the ACC. Chow, quick give and go. Knocks it back for Bohane. And nowhere to go. Plays it back for Groneveld. Bank. High arcing ball toward the back post. Trying to head it across frame was Will Cleary. But Akum again comes up big and clears.
Well done from Akum. He's really given everything in this first half. And I know there's 12 minutes that still remain, but his physical presence in this back line, it gives a sense of calm as a backline unit, especially as a midfield unit as well. When that ball goes wide and you just have that trust that builds in your first start of your Virginia career, really growing into this game and giving a good account of himself.
Sophomore out of Edmonton, Alberta. Got only 18 minutes this season. Did not play as a freshman last season. So here we are with a dozen minutes to go in this first half. He's already more than doubled his career minutes at UVA here in his first start. And it's at home against the #2 team in the nation. Welcome to the big leagues, essentially, for Victor Akoum. He'll be tested again. Fronting Bohane. Cutting inside, finds Chow. Quick give and go again. He's tried that twice, Chow, since coming on. That quick, incisive pass. He's not afraid to work his way out of the midfield. A nice move here by Beauvoir. And cut off in the end by Adnan.
I love that you mentioned that about Chow, Joe, because it's going to create a bit of an imbalance for Stanford. A lot of their midfielders, Chow, functioning very narrow. Him and Bohane are going to try and get in these half spaces. They want to combine. They want to dictate play, suck you out defensively, and get Brennan Lamb out of position in pockets like this so they can give the give and go.
Stanford wanted the foul there. Referee did not oblige. Will Cleary up for Zach Bohane. And another corner coming for Stanford. We're seeing so far in this one basically exactly what Jeremy Gunn had communicated to us, where he feels they're all the way there defensively as a unit, already clicking at the level he wants them to be, but they haven't quite gotten up to that speed yet in top gear on the ball in terms of scoring, which is saying something considering they're one of the top offenses in college soccer. But now up against better competition, we're seeing that. There's moments where it looks like they're about to flash, but by and large, they haven't really tested Virginia, just one shot on target. And now corner number 4. Toward the back post, guided away once again. Comes out to Chow, has a hit, blocked. Would have liked to see where that would have ended up. Seemed like he struck it well.
I think that had some real life to it, especially the technique he showed.
Virginia's still looking for their first shot on target of the match. Only have 2 shots. They came in pretty rapid succession. That was that back-to-back where Burns and Akoum each had an opportunity. They don't have a shot in the last 22 minutes now. Cavaliers looking for an answer in the attacking half.
Going back to that last play, Burns will be frustrated with himself. He didn't put enough oomph and enough pace on that pass, because a player like Smith already shown that he can wriggle away from Cleary. He wants that ball in and behind, and if he gets enough velocity on that pass and he's clear in, he can go 1v1 towards the next defender.
Taken away by Will Riley, who, remember, is on a yellow card. It's Austin Rome who has the yellow for Virginia. Riley, Bohane, and ahead to Fletcher Bank. Bank, edge of the area. Riley looking for a lane, shoots it off the bar. Will Riley, brilliant strike. Feels like the goal is still rattling. Could hear that all throughout Glockner Stadium, just the pace on that shot. As soon as it left his foot, you knew it had a chance. Nearly the moment Stanford's been looking for. That was their 8th shot. They've been testing Batruni, or rather testing that Virginia back line, but not testing Batruni enough. Still only 1 shot on target of the 8 they've taken.
And it comes from a player that I don't think Virginia was expecting to take that shot at the top of the box. When you see it, which we're probably going to get a look at it at some point, Virginia drops back into their own box, and a lot of physical play on display yet again. Well done from the Cavaliers, but Virginia dropping back into their own 6 almost. So that's going to create gaps and spaces for Stanford's 2 midfielders, sitting midfielders, to shoot from distance.
This one did come up and hit a hand, so good opportunity here with 7 to go in this first half from a wide free kick for Virginia to get something going.
And we see in this last opportunity, well done from Riley. It's the first time I've seen him shoot. He almost second guesses himself, but I love that determination and that clearness of thought and clearness of execution. Look at his shoulders and his body yet again. I think there was a missed opportunity from De Flores in a similar position, maybe a couple yards into the box, that he was leaning back, but the execution almost to perfection there.
Last 25 minutes, Stanford 6 shots, Virginia none. How do you fix what's been a slump in this first half? Maybe from a set piece. Mangarov will take it with that wand of a left foot. Good service into a dangerous area. Comes out for a hit, still loose in front. Beauvoir had it blocked. And crisis averted here for Stanford. Triton Beauvoir, familiar to somebody who we mentioned earlier is in the stands taking this one in Bruce Arena. Was with the New England Revolution when Beauvoir came up through the academy. Got a few of those players on this UVA roster who had that New England Revolution Academy to UVA pipeline. Certainly relationships there between George Gelnovich and Bruce Arena. Comes as no surprise.
And I'll throw another name in there, Kurt Arnolfo, who's connected to both George and Bruce. Kurt Arnolfo, I think, acting in that sporting director role for New England over the last couple seasons. So that pipeline is fresh from the Northeast to bring talent down to Charlottesville.
And tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, the ACC Huddle Crew will get you ready for the day in Dallas with a 60-minute pregame show leading into BC hosting Western Kentucky at noon. Also have halftime shows and pre- and post-game shows throughout the day. They're back at 6:30 to wrap up the afternoon with highlights and analysis and to get you set for Florida State SMU at 8 p.m. After the game, stay right here on ACC Network for a full post-game show to wrap up the night. I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Florida State, obviously, in ACC country in Tallahassee. Thoughts with everybody right now, reeling from Hurricane Helene. Obviously a difficult time there. Here's Bohane, out wide to Cleary, and cleared away by Rome. It's not the way he wanted it to go, though. It concedes another corner, 5th of the half here, and gifts Stanford an opportunity right before the end whistle here in half number 1.
This is where Stanford, you already have 5 corners, Virginia nothing to show for it in terms of corners taken. This is where I'd love to see the likes of your 2 center backs and Dylan Hooper and Noah Don really impose themselves. Virginia, they've looked comfortable on some of the set piece deliveries. If I'm Stanford, maybe go to the back stick. They've thrown everything kind of in that mid-goal area in the 6th. Maybe just a looped ball into the back post, redirected across the face of the goal for a finish.
Duncan Jarvie gives Shane DeFlores a quick breather here in the closing moments of this half. Bohane listens to you, goes back stick, but same result, nothing doing for Stanford. They'll have an opportunity, though, now from the opposite side for corner number 6, and you can see Petroni just saying, do it again, do it again. They've held strong on each of these corners so far.
I'm Petruni, I'm feeling a sense of calm, but this is where focus is so important. 3 minutes left to get to halftime. You got to be commanding and you got to be vocal as a goalkeeper during this final segment of the half.
19 goals over the last 7 matches for Stanford, nearly 3 per game in that span. One of the most prolific attacks in the country. 9th in goals, 4th in assists, 4th in goal differential, but mostly quiet in this first half with just 1 shot on target. Now from corner number 6, it's whipped in, loose in front, and trying to get it clear as Akumi does. Secondary ball in toward that back post, loose in front, the shot blocked by a sliding Albin Gashi. Cleary picks it back up, looking through for Jarvie, who just came on as a sub. Bohane battling, taken away by Gashi, tries to get it clear, not all the way so. Chow intercepts, but A.J. Smith wins it back for Virginia, and it's promptly given back away. So a helter-skelter closing couple of minutes here. This is not what UVA wanted. They wanted a nice, calm run in here to the halftime whistle, but Stanford giving it one last push.
Yeah, Stanford really smelling that sense of blood in the water, upping the tempo, trying to find a way through this really deep low block of Virginia.
Bohane's service headed away. Virginia working it clear only as far as Riley. Now up to Smith. That could finally ease the pressure here for Virginia. Visa. Because he's been doing so much defending down that right side. Palmer Bank and Fletcher Bank pressuring him. Haven't really seen Paul Visa able to step up into the attack the way he typically does. 4 assists this season and 1 assist away from entering the top 10 all-time at UVA. But he's been forced to just strictly defend tonight in many ways. Now it's Burns. And that right there, maybe the first half in a nutshell for UVA. A hopeful ball forward from Mangarov. Nobody in the vicinity.
But you'll take that if you're Virginia. Sometimes just having an outlet to just get the ball forward, although you don't connect the pass, it just allows your side a bit of time to breathe. They've been defending for the last 2 minutes straight, and you've done a great job of painting the picture of all of these nearly moments, Joe, that could have been devastating moments for the Cavaliers.
Well, this is Rowan Schnebly, by the way. Haven't had to call his name in this first half. The goalkeeper for Stanford. He's second in the ACC and 8th in the NCAA in clean sheets this season. He has had nothing to do. So in a way, it's fitting that the half is going to end with the ball at his feet. 0-0 between Stanford and Virginia. These two teams, cagey, to say the least, through 45. Two really good teams in terms of their defensive abilities. In the
Stanford, much of the same, but just focus in a little bit more in the final third, and you'll get your goal.
Underway now at half number 2. Virginia left to right in the orange. Stanford right to left in the black. Number 2 Cardinal on the road, hoping to avoid an upset. Haven't really felt in peril at any point tonight. But as long as it's 0-0, all it takes is 1. Here's Paul Visa. Was not really involved in that first half. Was charged more with defending. Palmer and Fletcher Bank both down the Stanford left-hand side, UVA's right-hand side. But there is a good look at him maybe getting further up into the attack and maybe having more to say in half number 2.
I think that's kind of down to the fact that Stanford utilized both their wing backs to make overlapping runs, and it puts you in kind of a catch-22 if you're Paul Visa, because if you're aggressive and make a long bustering run forward, you might get caught out in transition defensively. So I think he's just taking the slower road and waiting and biding for his time to be that aggressor in the second half.
Some other matches from around the ACC tonight. Had Duke finish 2-1 with a victory over NC State earlier. Here's Beauvoir getting to the end line, cuts it back, settled and blasted by Mangarov. But that's better, Michael, than anything we saw in the first half out of the Wahoos.
Yeah, very much so. And I've been waiting for someone from Virginia to put their head down and go after Will Cleary. Will Cleary is so good going forward, and he's a good defender, but just lacking that pace. And this is a mismatch in terms of pace from Beauvoir and him. Cleary gets flat-footed, Beauvoir doing the right thing with the cutback, but then keep an eye on the technique of Mangarov going for power, and that's going to happen on a wet, rainy night like this. But I like this from Virginia, that ball popping up just a bit too high and lashing at it with a lot of velocity. Maybe next time a bit more composure is needed in the final third.
So as I mentioned, it was 2-1 Duke beating NC State. It's scoreless everywhere else in the ACC. Nothing here. Scoreless at half between Clemson and Notre Dame. That one in South Bend. And scoreless between Wake Forest and Syracuse up in New York. You got that second screen going for Wake Forest, Michael? Or are you paying attention for our game here? I hope you're paying attention.
Definitely paying attention to both. Always got one eye on the Demon Deacons, you know. Got to be honest with that. Got some former teammates that are always texting post-match.
Well, they're still scoreless again against Syracuse. Had that 1-1. Virginia visiting Wake Forest earlier in the year. One of those that they felt should have been in the win column. You wonder if this is going to enter that territory at some point in this second half, if they could find and muster up a few opportunities. But now tasked with defending again. DeFlores centering, open header off the bar. Groeneveld, the second Cardinal to hit the crossbar tonight. Chance again here, blocked. Play on, says the referee, no handball there. But both central midfielders for Stanford, Groeneveld and Riley, a crossbar each, and we're still scoreless.
And there's a mismatch in midfield that's being created, and credit to Groeneveld, not knowing for getting an attack. He actually got an attack against Clemson and provided an assist, so the timing of his runs are just immaculate. And just the way he crashed the goal and really tried to annihilate that ball into the back of the net. We're going to see a good look at that in a bit, but I like that from Stanford. Oscillating which midfielder, deep-lying midfielder, gets in the box to join the attack. It imbalances a stubborn Virginia side.
Well, Virginia had that first shot of the half. Stanford quickly had the best opportunity of the young second half. And now Stanford have as many crossbars as they have shots on target, 2 each.
Yeah, Groeneveld really taking the space that Shane DeFlores would be in. And look at the timing of that. Jackson Keel, he's already got Dang occupied. So Dang doesn't even see Groeneveld coming in off his shoulder, but he just can't keep his header down. And that's just a testament to how close he is to the goal. Maybe a glancing header was needed. He goes for power, and a lot of players would do the same thing. But maybe just a glancing header towards that bottom quarter is what was needed. It's a wet, rainy night. If you get the glancing header, then that ball is a surefire goal.
Would have been his first goal as a Stanford Cardinal. Just 4 appearances, Groeneveld, as a freshman last year. This year has blossomed into a regular starter. And then again, really a theme for this program. In our conversation with Jeremy Gunn, he sort of lamented sort of the current landscape of college soccer and the transfer portal and all that comes with it. Not necessarily disparaging in any way, but he's always prided himself, and Stanford's always prided themselves on that ability to bring in a player, get to know him for 4 years, be informative on not only his soccer career, but his life and his growth as a person. But this group that's here, they've all matured together. The bulk of this roster in that second or third year in the program, and that maturity, again, paying dividends now. It's gotten them out to that 7-1-1 start, number 2 in the country.
And I think it's a testament to 2 things: the winning culture and just the gravitational pull that a coach like this, like Jeremy Gunn, has in the Bay Area. And the Bay Area itself, I mean, you and I have both been in that area. It's a soccer hotbed in this country. So you're spoiled for riches, whether in just the South Bay where Palo Alto is, or in the North Bay where there's so many good players. I mean, I've played with so many players. And you look at the national team during my time, a lot of players from Northern California having that connection to Stanford.
And we had Cal a couple of weeks back, and same thing, same area, boatload of talent, a team that's on the come up here. We saw them with a good year in the final season of the Pac-12, struggling so far at the bottom of the ACC, Cal, but very young team. They had a top 10 freshman class coming in, so there is plenty of talent to go around in that neck of the woods. The Stanford team returning 9 of 11 players who were regular starters last year. That core fully intact from a team that went 11-4-5 last year and lost in the NCAA tournament in the Elite Eight to the eventual champions and eventual ACC foes in Clemson.
I think the most important pieces that they return are in the wide areas in Bohane and Bank. Both first-team all Pac-12 honorees last season, and they're really shown this quality early on. I'm curious if they can be difference makers on a difficult night tonight in Charlottesville.
Virginia don't lose here often. Only 4 in the last 23 home matches, 14-4-5. Stanford on the road, been terrific as well. Last 22 road games, 12-2-8. Crowd wanted a foul there, play on. Saw a lot of that physical play in the early stages of this one. It sort of tempered down as the first half wore on. They expect it to ratchet back up again as this game gets more intense, 0-0 coming down the wire.
I think the crowd also recognizing who was the player from Stanford that was potentially the aggriever on that, and that's Will Riley. Remember, he's on a yellow card. So they're trying to bait the referee into maybe getting him a second yellow and giving Virginia the advantage. But I didn't see anything in that. It's a physical game, and we saw glimpses of that in the first half. Yeah, it's actually Bohane that comes in. That's physical. It's 50-50, and you're allowed to do that. And if you're Gashi, maybe coming in a bit more physical, bracing for impact, but I didn't see anything in that.
Heard George Gelnovac mention it in our conversation right before halftime, that they are missing Umberto Pella in that midfield tonight, what he brings to the table in terms of possession and helping ignite that attack from this area of the field. Brendan Lamb pick up some of that slack. He helped start this one, looking ahead to A.J. Smith. Work back centrally from Mangarov. Wide for Akoum. And his first career start, Akoum delivers over everything in the end.
Coach Gelnovac's telling us that Virginia was going to make a change and adapt to the second half, and what was needed was to have more of a creative force supporting their striker. And we didn't see enough of that in the first half. It was more of a pragmatic performance, and I think this is going to suit Daniel Mangarov a lot more. He's more of a natural center midfielder. He's playing on the right-hand side, already tucking in as attacking midfielders do. Now he's going to have license and freedom to roam around the field and be in support of their main man.
Here's Zach Bohane. Popped up in a couple of big moments in that first half. Not afraid to let it fly from distance. 3 goals, 3 assists on the season after a massive sophomore year, Bohane. 8 goals, 11 assists last year. Fletcher Bank floats it in, flicked away by Rome. And now playing out of the pressure, Akoum just dribbling it by Bohane and drawing the foul. How about that for confidence?
He's seizing the moment, Joe. I love this when young players step up in big games on big nights like this, and hopefully he can literally physically step up, because he looks to have taken a knock rolling over the ball. But that's smart play, veteran play. As soon as you take that touch forward, you know you have the physical prowess to protect the ball. And this is the arts of the game of when your team's been defending, to slow the game down, allow your team to catch their breath and step the line up a bit.
I know at halftime you promised us a goal, and I do want to remind people that you promised a goal so they can find you if they get angry. But if we want to take a step back and look big picture here, if we get through the next 34-59 without a goal, it's got to feel like a big win and a big feather in the cap of Virginia to have the #2 team who's been scoring at will, almost 3 goals per game on your field, to get all the way at 0-0 and pick up a point in conference play. Yes, they want to win. Yes, they want to snap this winless run that has seen 3 draws and a loss in the last 4. But this would feel in many ways like a win if they can tie the #2 team in the country.
Very much so, and if you can do it with a new look back line and maybe a new look defender, a star of tomorrow, and Victor Akoum stepping up and really performing as your best defender on the night.
Remind you, Stanford, what they've done this year. 2nd in the ACC in goals and then in assists per game, best goal differential, and all those marks, top 10 in Division I. Out shooting Virginia 12-5 tonight. They've certainly been the more threatening of the 2 sides, but all that matters, 2 zeros you see in the upper left of your screen.
And just a little added caveat, they have yet to be held scoreless in conference play. So this is a side that always seems to find a way of getting that definitive finish in the box, or definitive winning touch and moment in games that matter. And so far, so good. But I think they've met their match in Virginia so far of what we've seen in, say, the first 50, 60 minutes.
Does that man have the answer? Jeremy Gunn, is it a tactical tweak? Is it a personnel tweak? Matroni has this lined up. Is it maybe just getting a bit more lucky? Remember, they've hit the crossbar twice tonight. Now we're going to see a yellow card. Backing away from the area is the recipient, Shane DeFlores. He nudged Petruni as he was trying to get the ball back into play.
Luck. You need a little bit of luck on nights like tonight, Joe. And DeFlores knows exactly what he's doing, and I think Petruni, a little play acting, maybe Academy Award nominee for best dive in an ACC men's soccer game on display there, but referee giving him an easy out.
So DeFlores joins Will Riley in the book for Stanford. Remember, it is just Austin Rome in the book for UVA. Here's Riley. On the turn, Groneveld. Back for Riley. Building more out of the possession now, Stanford. More direct in the first half they were. Bohane taking it down the wing again, battling Akoum. That was something that George Gelnevach mentioned as far as scouting this Virginia team, rather this Stanford team. They just quickly get the ball into areas. He said they're very territorial in that way. They're not trying to take their time in the build-up in any capacity. They want to get it to the dangerous area and then be efficient with it there. But Virginia hasn't allowed the easy passageways into those areas.
And Stanford, they're also one of the best crossing sides in this conference, in this country. Watching a lot of their matches, whether it be Clemson, whether it be the match against Duke, they get in the final third and they look to either cut the ball back or play it up high for the big man in Jackson Keel. So far, Virginia, especially with their midfielders collapsing in the box, it gives that sense of defensive stability and foundation to thrive in a match like this.
Just saw that big man you mentioned, Jackson Keel, standing at the penalty spot, waiting for the service now from Zach Bohane. Will Riley over for a look as well, but this seems to be Bohane's ball. In-swinger coming with the left foot. You never know on the slick surface now, too, with the rain, that if this ball bounces, maybe it doesn't go in on its own at the far post if he can hit it well. Looking at that back post, but he overcooks it with the wind blowing, and a wasted opportunity for Stanford.
And disappointing set-piece delivery there. Bohane better than that on display, and it just doesn't come off.
And number 13, Georgia Tech highlights our next two Sunday featured volleyball matchups. They will host number 1 Pitt this weekend at O'Keefe Gymnasium. And next Sunday, they'll square off against number 5 Louisville. Both begin at 1:30 Eastern right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. About an hour gone, about a half an hour remaining here at Klockner Stadium with Michael Lahoud. I'm Joe Malfa. Glad to have had you with us all evening long here on the ACC Network. First ever meeting as conference foes for Stanford and Virginia. Cardinal come in, the number 2 team in the country. It has been a windy, rainy night here in Charlottesville. And now a chance for Virginia on a free kick.
First time we've really seen Paul Visa get up into the attack, and it forces an errant handball from Palmer Bank. And he's a little bit frustrated with an incredulous look on his face, feigning innocence. And that's a handball, definitely caught there, and it's on a second look, it may have hit off his chest. He might have a claim.
Not too bad as far as handballs go. The call was made, and now a chance for Virginia. Can they make them pay? Could hear the pitter-patter of the rain still coming down on our microphones down on the field. It is Visa who takes, again, like Stanford on the other end, over everybody. On both sides, squandering free kicks in dangerous areas just minutes apart. Elements have to be very difficult right now, Michael. Anytime that ball gets in the air, 15-mile-an-hour winds in this driving rain. We're sitting here parsing through and picking apart some of the mistakes on the balls played in, but it cannot be easy in these conditions.
And especially if you're a defender moving towards your own goal. And I've had an experience on this field. I want to go back to the year of our Lord 2006. That was a long time ago when everyone was ancient pretty much compared to the players playing on this field. We played against Virginia. They were the #1 team in the country. We were #2, and it was raining cats and dogs.
Here's Visa. Better ball this time. Kept it low, but couldn't get it through to Smith before it was cleared.
Well, back to story time. It was raining cats and dogs on that night. And I remember we had this moment where a ball was in the air. The wind was blowing like crazy. And as a defender and a midfielder or player defending a set piece opportunity, there's a moment where your hair gets in your face, the rain gets in your eyes, and that's when mistakes tend to happen. Fortunately, on that night, we capitalized on a Virginia mistake because the defender slipped in his own box when we least expected it.
Here's Smith trying to capitalize on a Stanford mistake. And this will ricochet out for a throw. Rain still pouring down. It rained a lot through the afternoon. Field was slick from the start of the game, but not as significantly wet as it is now. Joaquin Brizuela will make his first appearance in this one, replacing A.J. Smith. That's part of the strength of the attacking unit of Virginia. They don't have much to show for it yet, as they've been trying to get everybody up to full speed. Remember, Smith dealing with injury, just his second appearance as he comes off now for Brizuela. But, Michael, all these guys over 6'2". In the words of George Gelnevach, they all run like deer. So he's got big guys, fast guys, and he can really get them in and out for each other, keeping them fresh without missing a beat.
Yeah, but the one thing that I'd like to see more of from them, and Coach Gelnevach wants to see more from them, is who has that finishing touch and consistent finishing touch. This is the sort of match that if you're a runner in behind, especially the more this game goes on and the field becomes waterlogged. If I'm Virginia, play these strikers with those floated balls in behind so they can get on the end of them. If you put a little bit of backspin on the ball, it'll die on the field and give your striker a chance to capitalize.
See there, it's been nearly 40 minutes since the last shot on target. One caveat being in that span, had that crossbar hit from Stanford. Not a shot on target, but a threatening moment that nearly broke the deadlock. Mangarov looking for Brizuela. His first touch, a heavy one, giving it away. Brizuela, another one of the young players Virginia are excited about, the freshman from Argentina out of the Godoy Cruz Academy. Somehow raining harder now than it was moments ago as Bohane chips it through. I always get the point in these storms, Michael, where I feel like you don't think it could rain any harder, and then somehow, yeah.
Hey, it's the Mid-Atlantic. It's rainy season. Fall is here, and it's soccer season. It wouldn't be a game at Klockner without rain and without a bit of physical play.
We talked about the forecast that was with Jeremy Gunn ahead of this one. Oof. He said, look, it reminded him of home a little bit back in England, and you know, it's nice, it's sunny, it's warm in California, but this feels more like soccer weather. So I hope he's enjoying it, but I don't know if he's enjoying it as much as he thought he would.
Well, he'll be the happiest person in the state of Virginia if they get this result. It'll make the rain and all the hard work worth it. He's looking like a cool customer right there. You say he's feeling right at home. Looks like he's at the beach in Brighton.
He might be the only person, to your point, in Virginia without an umbrella or a poncho or some sort of windbreaker on right now. Looks like he's just wearing a cardigan that's got to be soaked through at this point. Under 25 to play. Stanford and Virginia still 0-0. Over these last 7 games, Stanford, where they've been lights out offensively, averaging nearly 3 goals per game. They've also been lights out defensively, a sub-1 goals against average and 4 clean sheets in the last 7 games. So as difficult as it's been for Stanford to find a way through this top-notch Virginia defense, it's been equally difficult for a Virginia attack that's been struggling to begin the season against a brick wall Stanford back line. Now it's Fletcher Bank Leaves his defender down, but some way, somehow, Nick Dang gets his foot on it and breaks it up. As he was rolling through the mud, literally, able to get his foot on it.
Well, Nick Dang should call his parents after this match and thank him for the genes that they gave him, because the long legs that he's inherited, that is what saved what looked to be a sure goal. He didn't know anything about that. Oh boy, here comes what looks to be a little bit of a hamstring.
Beauvoir in and out, looking centrally for Bizuela. The referee is stopping play. As you pointed out, back behind the play, it's Akoum who's down. The hope is that it's just a cramp, but he seems to be in quite a bit of pain as you've got Austin Rome helping him out.
When it's wet like this, as soon as he makes this pass, that's when he feels it right there. And been there as a player, and as I said, hopefully, worst case scenario, not worst, you never want the worst, but best case scenario is just a cramp. He's put in a lot of his effort, a lot of covering ground on this match, and it's harder as a defender on a waterlogged pitch as you're running faster and faster, especially he's carrying a lot of weight. He's a big guy. That all adds up through the course of 2 halves. He's put a lot of effort in, so hopefully the medical staff can get him back up to snuff.
And then if you're that man, George Geldenach, you wonder where you turn to next. Remember, Akoum is only in as a last-minute change to the starting 11. Coach Geldenach told us during our interview at halftime that Humberto Pella was slated to start, injured himself in the warm-up. So they slide Brendan Lamb into the heart of the midfield. They bring in Victor Akoum at left back, and he has played every minute at the top of his game, I might add. Since then, he's gone toe-to-toe with Zach Bohane, one of the top players in the conference, top drawer soccer best 11 last year when he was all Pac-12 and all Far West first team. And that has been the assignment for Akoum. He's more than held up. The question is he fit to continue as he limps off?
He keeps touching the back of his hamstring, and as I said, at first glimpse, it didn't look good, but you hope it's just a cramp on a night like this. And he's put in a lot of work, and if you see his feet, that ball, he makes contact right there. That, see him wincing. He knows immediately he's done something. He grabs the back of his right leg. And sometimes as a player who's physically gifted, very muscular defender, you have those fast twitch muscles on a wet night like tonight. It's just that instant connection with the ball. You feel something going. He knew instantly that something wasn't right.
And he gets a nice greeting from the crowd as he comes off. First career start. Hate to see it end like this if he's unable to come back into this one. And the body language doesn't look great right now. But a player who played 18 minutes over 2 games off the bench this season, did not play as a freshman last year, gets his first career start tonight against the #2 team in the nation, against an all-conference, all-region, all-American player in Zach Bohane, shuts him down, now has to leave his first career start like this. A bittersweet end to the night for Victor Akoum. He is replaced by Parker Sloan. That'll be like for like down that left side. Just all these moving parts now for Virginia. We initially thought that it would be Parker Sloan starting at the left wing position. Instead, it was a freshman first start for Luke Burns at left wing. And then, of course, the injury to Pella. You had Lamb slide inside. You had Akoum come in. So now you've got starting at left back and Parker Sloan, the guy you thought would be starting at left wing. And up ahead, still the freshman and Luke Burns. So all sorts of moving parts tonight, which usually is not a good recipe when you're playing a top team like Stanford, but they've still held strong despite all of the personnel changes they've had to endure.
I've been surprised actually looking at that with Parker Sloan starting at left wing, and I saw that in the match against Cal, in the game against Cal, and I was wondering if my eyes were deceiving me, because Brendan Lamb is a midfielder, and if anything, Brendan Lamb, I'd have expected him to start maybe in that wide midfield position in that game. But hey, Coach Geldenach knows what he's doing. He's been at the helm for a long time, and it shows in his records and the national championship. I actually think that suits Parker Sloan, who's naturally a left fullback.
You wonder now if Stanford wants to try and exploit that early on. Remember, first handful of minutes, they were bombing down that right side, testing the first start of Victor Akum, obviously to no avail. And then from that point on, they started trying down the left side a bit more, going up against Paul Visa. But you wonder now with that switch, with having to bring on Parker Sloan, do they go back to that left side? It's Bohane now slipping it through on the turn. Keel back for Bohane, and stepping and clearing is that man, Parker Sloan.
Good reading of the game from Sloan, recognizing that he is a backstep and double team. Jackson Keel has been kept very quiet tonight, and that's credit to Virginia's back line as a whole.
Oh, Brizuela, maybe caught a bit off guard by the way that ball bounced through, ended up stopping the momentum of that could-be attack.
Yeah, I would love to have seen him be more aggressive and just that heightened sense of awareness that you want quality strikers to have.
Here's Mangarov, slots it through. Brizuela goes for goal.
Better movement from Virginia. In this second half, we've seen a lot more of Daniel Mangarov because he's coming in centrally, playing as a pseudo-attacking midfielder, listed as a right winger in this game. Makes no mistake about it. He knows that this pass is going to come in Brizuela, but just the weight of the pass lets him down. If the weight of that pass is just a lot more heavy and a lot more in front right there, and I think that's because the rain on the pitch, it's waterlogged. It's going to slow that ball down. You got to put a bit more oomph because that ball is slow to come in to Brizuela. That's why he lashes at it wide and high.
Only 4 shots so far this half, 2 each way with 20 minutes to go. Settled down now by Bank. First shot on target of the half as Bachurni makes the save. Remember early in this half, I gave you the updates from around the ACC, some of the other scores. We were not, at the time, the only scoreless match. It was scoreless between Clemson and Notre Dame, scoreless between Wake Forest and Syracuse. Now we are the only scoreless game in the ACC. It is 1-1 between Clemson and Notre Dame, and it is Wake Forest up 2-1 on Syracuse.
So you're saying there's a chance, Joe. This game might come to life. Just saying.
I'm saying there's a chance, and I'm saying that you promised a goal toward the end of that first half. So you're the one who's most rooting for a goal above all else.
Man, I know I am. Yes, I am.
In fairness to you, the conditions after you made that statement deteriorated. It was not raining at that point. It was just windy. Gusts were around 7 miles an hour. Since then, we've gotten up to 15 miles an hour on the gusts, and the skies have opened up. So I'll give you a pass because Mother Nature was not looking out for you.
Yeah, Mother Nature telling me to be quiet and stick to the match on that occasion. So I'll do just that.
Here's Fletcher Bank trying to find a way through. He earns a corner. They had a lot of these in the first half, 6 of them to be exact. This is their first of the second half. And remember, in that first half, of the 6 corners they had, really nothing came out of it. No real threats on goal. Seemed like Virginia was the first to every ball played in from the corner.
Virginia showed an uncanny commitment that when you think of successful Virginia sides under George Gelnevach, defending well and defending on set pieces is something that each of his teams do so well.
Can they keep that up here in Swinger? And they do. Headed away, the first to it. I think we're going to redo this. The referees just conferred. You heard the whistle almost simultaneous to when the ball was kicked. I think Stanford jumped the gun. Virginia's not happy. They thought it was close enough, and they don't want to give Stanford a second crack at this, but the referees decide to let them take it again. Alex Chow presenting as a short option this time around. Going direct has not borne any fruit on these corners, and we're going to have a little bit more time to wait here. Very cheerful, I guess we'll say, conversation going on between Joey Bachurni and Shane DeFlores.
And remember how this match started? There was a video review play where Joey Petruni, he caught Shane DeFlores in the face, and the referee had judged that to be fair play, and we played on. So he's got to be mindful of that. DeFlores is in there to create havoc and kind of rattle Petruni.
Better service this time. Loose in the box. And Virginia able to clear only as far as where it all started for Will Riley, who delivered the corner. Chow curls it in. Cleared back out to Riley. Deflected. And out for a goal kick. So after all that, nothing comes of it for Stanford. Virginia holds strong yet again. And tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, the ACC Huddle Crew will get you ready for the day in Dallas with a 60-minute pregame show leading into BC hosting Western Kentucky at noon. They'll also have halftime shows and pre- and post-game shows throughout the day. They're back at 6:30 to wrap up the afternoon with highlights and analysis and to get you set for Florida State SMU at 8 p.m. Dangerous ball through the middle, given away. Contact there, free kick on the way. Card coming as well. Albin Gashi picks up the yellow.
And just as we were giving Virginia plaudits for being so smart in managing this game, they have a moment of madness in possession. And credit to Will Riley. He's done this so often in this match, and that's Noah Don, just clumsy pass. Not much pressure on him, and Gashi fouls Riley because he's bearing it on goal. If he doesn't make that foul, and it's actually a smart foul just outside the box, then Riley would have had an open opportunity, just acres of space to pick whichever side he wants to place it into either corner.
The referee is coming over to the monitor. Only two things that could come to mind. Was it inside or outside the box? Was it dogso and denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity where it should be red? I don't know, Michael. Neither of those jumped off the page initially. It certainly seemed like the foul happened outside the box and then the fall into the box. And there were enough defenders back there where it should be a yellow, not a red. But give it a quick check and make sure, I guess.
Yeah, I'm 100% in agreement with you, Joe. When you look at the play, yes, Riley was getting close to the box and getting ready to shoot. But Dylan Hooper and Noah Nadon, they were there on hand. So it's not as obvious, and it would have to be maybe if Riley had been closer into the box, maybe closer to the penalty spot, then obviously it becomes a penalty kick and more obvious it's a denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. But look at Nadon. You don't need to play that first time. But now the referee is going to come back out and give us our final decision. This is outside the box. The foul happens there outside the box. Jess Riley goes inside, and here's our decision.
And he's calling him over. That means he's going to switch just from yellow to red, and that is stunning. You saw it there in the replay. The other players that were there to close it down, and he is off. That's exactly what Albin Gashi is trying to argue right now. You saw him hold up the two fingers. He had multiple defenders back there. I'm with you, Michael. This is a stunning decision, but referees go over, check it, and decide on red.
I'm really shocked at this because you have time as a referee to make an informed decision, and the key word with video review is it has to be clear and obvious. And this is clearly and obviously not a red card. Yes, it's a foul. It's yellow. It's not inside the box, so it's not that. But as you said, Joe, there's still defenders there who, if he's going in on goal, Adon would have been there. You have Sloan that would have been there. And that is a harsh call that changes the prospects of this game and changes it squarely towards Stanford's favor now.
Just try to play that out. Obviously, you can't predict what's going to happen. But if the next step on that play was to take a shot, you had Austin Rome and Parker Sloan who were within the orbit to either put in a slide or put in a foot and block the shot. See, I'm with you. I'm not sure about the decision, but it was made. It is final. Albin Gashi is off. Virginia will have to now go the last 16 and a half minutes down a man and still have this free kick in and of itself to contend with.
And pardon me, I was getting my wires crossed with Stanford defenders. You're correct with Rome being in there.
Bohane, the left-footed option, DeFlores, the right-footed option. Both standing over it, both more than capable. DeFlores, 4 goals this season, Bohane with 3. And the Cavaliers will make a substitution here. They'll bring off Beauvois. Bring on Cameron Iriondo. Will it be DeFlores or Bohane? Will it be a goal to break the deadlock here with 16.5 to go and compound that red card? It is Bohane off the post and in! Stanford up a man and up a goal in the rain here in Charlottesville.
Virginia will feel very much aggrieved from the refereeing decision, but you still have to capitalize on what this game gives you. And head coach Jeremy Gunn has his side fired up because that is a class finish from Zach Bohane. And this is good coaching. As soon as the emotional high of a goal comes in, keep an eye on the wall, keep an eye on the finish. Because he hits it off the ground, he puts in the one place that he could, right in that corner. Zach Bohane, he's become a man for the big moment. Take you back to their last conference match against Duke. Late in the game, Bohane comes with the game-tying goal late on, and he could be that hero in Charlottesville at Klockner Stadium yet again. Expertly taken free kick, and these are the fine margins in conference play that separate the top teams and the teams that, well, it's a long night and a long season for.
Well, this game completely flipped on its head. We were talking about what maybe shifts things for two teams that hadn't really found any dangerous avenues through. Two terrific defensive teams. It comes out of a mistake originally by UVA playing out of the back, opened the door for that foul that went from a yellow to a red after the VAR check. And then from there, a picture-perfect free kick. We go from a rather lifeless 0-0 to a 1-0 Stanford lead in a game that has burst to life. Yellow card here for Dylan Hooper.
Makes you wonder for Virginia, right before that opportunity happened, and we're seeing afters, Angroff getting involved again, and that's a routine foul. I think the likes of Hooper coming in and a little bit of intimidation, that's part of the game. You know, yes, it's a foul. It's laid on. It's a defender, a little jawing, and I actually like that in big games. It shows both teams care. And now for Virginia, I want to see how you respond. Here we go, the monitor again.
Back to the monitor for the third time tonight. First time around, opening minute of the match. It was a quick check to see if there was any foul play in the box. No harm, no foul. Second time moments ago, they shifted the Gashi yellow to a red. And then the free kick banged in off the post by Zach Bohane. And now checking here on that yellow for Dylan Hooper. Referee Brandon Gardner is giving the video team a workout today. Let's see. Is there anything additional in this? Does he stand over him and say something? Yes, but is there anything physical? He's trying to get out of the tie-up. There's a nudge at the end. Obviously, we can't figure out what he said necessarily, but that's not something you can gather from the video either.
Unless the programming on the video review comes with lip reading, which I read the manual, it does not. I'm keen to see what refereeing decision is made, because I don't agree with what was made on the Gashi red card. I thought that was a massive error, and I think it's something, and I hope it's something that gets addressed as we move forward. I know referees are human beings too, but I am keen to see what decision's made now.
And I'm with you. It's one thing when an error is made in the live run of play, but when you have a chance to go back to the video and double check it, and then from there make what seems to be an error, that's when you get the players and coaches upset a bit. The George Yellow match was not a happy camper. Saw him over on the bench after they escalated that Gashi yellow to a red. Is there anything from this angle here? Is there a stomp in the mix there? Nothing I see. It's just him standing over him and the words that were said. And they will stay with the yellow.
I'm glad that it stayed that way. And yes, words were exchanged. It's part of competitive sports. You're going to have players jawing at each other. Now, what word is exchanged does matter, but you can't tell from the video review. So we're going to err on the side of just letting the game go on.
And as the game goes on, it will be a free kick here, the restart for Virginia. Mangarov standing over it. Very high line here from Stanford. Mangarov delivers into the penalty spot. Flicked on header. It's bouncing all around. It took a second deflection and now cleared by Hooper. You're off the hook, by the way, Michael. You got your goal.
I told you the forecast. I had my crystal ball coming. I couldn't get the defender's name right, but I could tell you a goal was coming.
The question now is, will there be another one? Will Stanford find the insurance? Will UVA find an equalizer? We'll find out together. Final quarter of an hour here. Driving rainstorm here at Klockner Stadium with Michael Lahoud. I'm Joe Malfa. It's played in behind here for Virginia. Can they find the equalizer? Before any of that, the offside flag thwarts the attack.
I'd love to see this again. This had to be very close. And credit to Cesar Cordova for driving forward. And as soon as he picks his head up, that is very close. Because keep an eye on Palmer Bank. If that's offside, that must have been just inches off. I thought Palmer Bank was just a half a yard keeping him on, but maybe next year there's budget for automated offside. You tell me, Joe, huh?
Michael, if you're in Stanford's position here, given the elements, given the lead, given the man advantage, do you play straight up the way you've been playing so far in this one, or do you shift? Do you change and try to pack it in here and just make sure you defend it?
Yeah, as we see here on the offside call, he is on, as I thought before. It's another blown call from tonight's referee. That's a major goal-scoring opportunity that Virginia's robbed from, and Stanford would feel very relieved. And to answer your question about managing the rest of this game, if I'm Stanford, the game is not done yet. And if you're going to start slowing the game down in terms of, you know, being less aggressive and not being as direct as you were to get that goal, then you're doing yourself a disservice. This is where you're going to really see this game out, is get the ball into Virginia's end and keep it moving. Virginia is not pressing, which I'm surprised by because they're down a goal. Let the ball do the work. Pass and move, play what you see, and eventually someone will give up, and a window and a gap and opportunity will go in. There's a second goal waiting, and if you're Stanford, if you really want to make a statement in this conference, go after that second goal, but also be patient to get it.
It's interesting. There's always two schools of thought in this situation. You're up a goal and a man. You sit back, you invite the team that's down a man to try and find a way. But, Michael, oftentimes it feels like when you invite a team that is down a man to press you, you almost don't see that man disadvantage anymore because they're able to be on the front foot.
It depends how good you are on the ball as well, Joe. If you're a defender, and this is why when you get late in the game, and I don't like my center backs pushing up like Noah Don here, I'd get him back, and yes, get the ball in the box.
There's a ball into the box there from Bohane, but nobody able to tap it home. And a foul against Riley, who is on a yellow and doesn't want to delay the restart here because you would even back up the odds at 10v10.
Well, that play, just I was saying that Stanford almost scored. But typically, if I'm managing Stanford, I'm head coach Jeremy Gunn, and I want my defenders and center backs especially to be more aware in their positioning and not bombing forward to be the catalyst to get that second goal. All it takes is for Virginia to get one brain fart from Stanford to give them confidence into this match. Right now, kind of feeling aggrieved, and you don't want to upset a wounded animal of a side in Virginia.
Stanford now with goals in 8 straight matches. They've only been shut out once this season. This is Iriondo back out for Visa. And it's a corner for Virginia.
This is Zach Bohane, tonight's goal scorer, getting a dangerous ball in, and Austin Rome kind of fans at it. Shane DeFlores making a good run as he typically does. for Stanford. Virginia off the hook. It'll look to be almost
First corner of the evening now for Virginia. They get their 2 starting strikers back in there as well, in Kome Ubogu and Hayes Wood. Ubogu's had that magic his whole career. It's typically been off the bench for Virginia. He got what was just his 7th start and his 57th appearance tonight. Has 13 career goals, 12 of those as a sub. It'll be Mangarov to deliver once he has the okay. Plenty of big-bodied threats in the air for Virginia. Between Ubogu and Wood, and the center backs coming up, Nick Dang and Austin Rome. Seen 7 corners for Stanford. None have threatened. It's Virginia's first corner. Can they be efficient and find an equalizer? Mangarov, back post, flicked away by Adnan. Kept alive now by Lamb. Still in play as it trickled toward the end line. Clear down the right side. Crisis averted for Stanford. Now can they break out? It's 2v3. Pressuring from behind was Hayes Wood, and he's called for the foul. Will be shown a yellow.
Stanford doing well to defend. And then smart play from Zach Bohane. Recognizing there's acres of space, not rushing the play. But that first aggressive touch, that makes you think now, if you're Virginia, that you got to run an extra 5 to 10 yards. And as soon as he feels that Woods is coming, the angle which he takes to get across the face of Woods, that is what draws the foul. And that's late on in the game. That's almost as good as a goal for Stanford, because now that helps your whole team step their lineup, and it frustrates Virginia that much more.
Still no shots on target in this one for Virginia. Their season low was 1 in that loss against Duke. And in that game, George Yelovach felt that it was really the worst showcase offensively all season long for UVA. They've typically had a good expected goals tally as far as the advanced stats go. Underlying metrics has favored them, and then he feels they're in a position where they're going to get a positive regression to the mean at some point, where they've been underperforming their underlying metrics, but hasn't really been the case tonight. Again, still no shots on target now, 80 minutes in, and down a man. Uphill battle here in the rain for the Cavaliers.
And he'll be a frustrated figure tonight, because they've given a good account of themselves. Overall, they've been competitive, difficult to break down, but just in the final third, they're still left searching and wanting for who wants to take responsibility over scoring goals for this side. You have some quality technical players. Paul Visa, I think him being pegged back by Stanford for much of this match, that has had a direct impact on the lack of chances created for the Cavaliers.
From here, Stanford will host a NC State squad that was receiving votes this week, but they lost to Duke, so they may no longer be receiving those votes. Then they go on the road, Stanford, to number 16 SMU, then at San Francisco, home to Pacific, and they finish out October at home against number 3 UNC. Could that be a 1 versus 2 matchup by the time we get there? Hopefully, at the very least, a 2 versus 3, the way those teams are going.
That could be a future ACC championship matchup.
Could be, could be. And now a yellow card issued to Will Cleary.
And Bohane has just been so tireless in his work ethic. And Stanford, they've had some physical plays, and this is just a tired challenge. A couple seconds ago, and I think the referee gets it wrong again, because he does get to the ball first. If you get to the ball first, even though you make contact, it's not a foul.
Mangarov, good ball into the traffic, slapped away by Rowan Schneble. Secondary ball in. Schneble has had nothing to do tonight. Still, no saves made, no shots on target. And up until this point, he hasn't really had to come out to retrieve or punch away many crosses. Quiet night in the rain for Rowan Schneble. Might he be calling the question here? Lamb drives it through, but it's blocked. Back to Lamb. Crowd loves it. Centered by Lamb. Trying to get it out of his feet was Hayes Wood. It was caught up. Intercepted now by Nick Dang. A try from distance, deflected. Ubogu trying to turn. Falls on the left side where there's a shout for deflection here, and it's given for a corner on the effort by Parker Sloan. But good hustle from that man, Brendan Lamb, to keep it all alive.
And good play from Paul Visa, much more like it from him. And Virginia, one of the few times we've seen them get him high, get him wide, and then the cross, cutting it back at the right angle. But now, Virginia taking too long to get the shot off. Against a good side like Stanford, you're not going to get that half second more than you're used to, say, in training.
7.5 minutes to go. Mangarov from the corner comes all the way out to Paul Visa. Crowd imploring him to shoot. He does, but it's blocked. Going back to the last match for UVA, it's 111 minutes without an official shot on target. Another player down now for Stanford. And the road ahead for Virginia, not an easy one. It never is. They've got the toughest schedule remaining in the country. They're home against UNC Greensboro. Then they're home against number 17 Virginia Tech in that big rivalry. And then it's home against number 10 James Madison. So two themes to pick up on there from that road ahead that I laid out. I only said the word home, not on the road. They're a terrific home team. And starting tonight, 7 of their final 9 matches were at home. So they have that going for them. But, Michael, it's a difficult road ahead. Again, a ranked Virginia Tech team in the rivalry, a ranked James Madison team, and then, of course, more difficult ACC lying in the distance behind that.
Yeah, and you look at who they round out conference play with. They have to go to Pitt, which is a nightmare place to go, especially given how Pitt has started this season. So George Gelnovac, if there's one thing we've learned from watching his sides, is that they're kind of late bloomers, except for when they have their exceptional teams that you just look at. I think of their 2019 team. You just look at that team and you said, okay, this is a team that from day one, they're going to go the distance, but he will get this right. He will find a good goal scorer, but just he'll be frustrated along the way, and he'll learn something from this match, is that his team is competitive, and those wins aren't by mistake. Those wins are just knowing what your team's good at and having them evolve. I would love to see at some point in this season for him to have Daniel Mangarov come and play as your attacking midfielder. I don't think Hayes Wood is the guy just yet to come in and be that second striker. As long as Mangarov can pull the strings, you'll get more opportunities. Best chances created today came off that slip pass from Mangarov.
Tinconi Grodiaz comes on for Bohane, and it would be Bohane who has that heroic moment, that game-winning goal on the free kick that followed that Alvin Gashi red card in the 74th minute. Banged it off the post and in. Around the wall, off the post. Virginia upset with the way that transpired, and now having words with the assistant referee, it seemed like it was a clear offside, and the player was giving chase there at the top of the formation, and it was Shane DeFlores not pulling out of it. He was looking over at the referee, wondering if he was onside, just kept going, forced Joey Batruni to step up and clear it out of play for a throw, but should have been an indirect free kick for Virginia coming out on what would have been the offside. Six minutes to go now for Stanford to show that resiliency that head coach Jeremy Gunn often talks about, and see this one over the finish line. Pirouette from DeFlores, took a deflection in the middle. There was a half a heartbeat there where it seemed like there was a chance, and now a free kick for Stanford. Late challenge put in by Nick Dang. That was after the free kick had already been given.
It's kind of pinballing around at the top of the box, and I think Dang just gets the angle wrong. It's not as an egregious of a challenge as it initially seems, but it's a Brendan Lamb foul that the referee sees first, and he gets that correct to call that. There is a bit of a touch and a bit of a foul from Dang, but Lamb bundles into Riley, and that's why it's a foul.
Already with one free kick goal tonight, it was Zach Bohane. He's not on the field anymore, just subbed off moments ago. Now it's DeFlores standing over it with Fletcher Bank. DeFlores, the right-footed option. Bank, the left-footed option. You can imagine from here it suits the right foot, and it will be. DeFlores tried to equal what Zach Bohane did earlier in the half, but not quite. Our Week 5 ACC Network Saturday football lineup for you begins at noon Eastern with Boston College hosting Western Kentucky. Then it's Wake Forest hosting Louisiana. We'll cap the night with Florida State and SMU at 8. Syracuse will also host Holy Cross at noon Eastern on ACC Network Extra and ESPN+. Wake Forest will try to equal what the soccer team did tonight. You'll be happy to know, Michael, 2-1 win for Wake Forest tonight. And also late drama, Notre Dame Clemson. Number 12, Clemson falling on the road to Notre Dame, 2-1.
Oh, that's big for Notre Dame. Rematch of last season's national championship.
And then earlier tonight, Duke 2-1 over NC State. So a trio of 2-1 finishes. It is Stanford 1-0 here. Lamb. Cavaliers down a man. Can they orchestrate an equalizer? Played out wide for Ubogu. Brilliant tackle put in by Bank. Recovered by Mangarov. Brought back for Paul Visa. Curled up by Visa toward Ubogu. And cleared. Stanford not in any way looking to put the cart before the horse, but we asked Jeremy Gunn. He's seen so many successful teams here at Stanford. He's seen a three-peat of national titles, 2015, 16, and 17. We asked him in the build-up, does this team have that look, have the makeup, have the makings of a special team that can lift a trophy? And his answer was very in-depth as far as what makes a great team great. And the flag stays down here. Chance to put it away for Stanford. In alone, it's blocked on the slide by Dang Denai Tanconi Gradias. We'll hold that thought for a minute. Stanford nearly put it to bed with a second. And now the advantage played here as Virginia tries to come right back the other way. Well, the Cardinal Rue not putting it away with a second goal. Back to Jeremy Gunn and that conversation. There's some special teams out there historically. He actually mentioned your Wake Forest team, Michael, where they were just special, where it never felt like they were going to lose the title. But on the flip side, there are just some teams that have great balance and just get it done. The Virginias, the Indianas, the Maryland teams that have all won titles. They have a brilliant backbone, they're resilient, and they have the quality to have that end product when they need it most. And he's not saying this team is in that special category of your Wake Forest, but he thinks it's in that balanced category as Ubogu springs it over the top. Secondary ball back in Ubogu, the diving header, wrong side of the post. So not done yet here at Klockner with 2 to play. Stanford having to hold on.
It's much better from Virginia going for that back post. And I wonder why Ubogu didn't come in the match before this moment. The ball's there. but he goes for the acrobatics. The angle's working against him. If he hits that ball or heads that ball across the face of the goal, then there's a higher percentage chance that that will go in the back of the net. Sometimes it's a rush of blood to the head that gets the better of many a striker on that moment. Too much going on there for Bogu mentally, and technique lets him down. And I love that quote from Coach Gunn, and it's such an honor to hear one of the household names in college soccer even identify our Wake Forest team, our national championship side, is one of the elite sides to play in the college ranks. I agree with them about that ability to get things done. When I look at the Stanford side, it's the goal scoring by committee, but it's the fact that every single game, it's someone else and someone new that's stepping up to take responsibility in both boxes to win matches for this side. You go back to that match against Duke, it was different players, and it's the likes of wide players, the likes of defenders stepping up and holding their hands up to be accounted for. And when I look at our national championship side with Wake Forest, going into that championship game, it was a substitute, Zach Solofsky, who had the match-winning moment. Someone who probably should have started during our run to the championship match and the Final Four, but he was patient, and he was rewarded for his patience by being competitive in practice and just showing up and doing his job, match in and match out, for his time to shine. And it was the biggest time of all in program history.
90 seconds to go here. Mangarov tried to keep it alive and blasted clear by Palmer Bank. So keep that in the back of your mind for the Stanford team as they continue this trek through the regular season. The case could be made that it's the toughest regular season they will have ever had here in the ACC for the first time. Probably the most difficult schedule they will have ever played from a strength of schedule percentage regard, if you will. You'd have to go back through the years and see if maybe there was one particularly arduous non-conference schedule they scheduled. But as far as conference play, this is the toughest it's ever going to have been for Jeremy Gunn. They're navigating it so far at 8-1-1 if they hold on these final seconds. Remember, Pitt has a difficult one tomorrow in a game that was postponed today due to weather. It's Pitt, Virginia Tech, the number 17 team in the nation, tomorrow. So if Virginia Tech were to pull the upset of Pitt, which is well within the range of outcomes here that we could see, you could have Stanford going back to number one. They've already been number one this season. A testament to the strength of the ACC. 4 of the 6 coaches polls have seen an ACC team at the top. Twice Clemson, once Stanford, once Pitt. The top 3 teams right now all in the ACC, Pitt, Stanford, and UNC. It's a difficult road ahead, but Stanford already putting it together, proving to be a heavyweight in the conference. Can they hold on here? But Truney launches, 35 seconds to play. 30 seconds, back for Visa. Everybody forward but the keeper. Visa launches over his intended target, Iriondo. And Stanford could take their time getting the goal kick back into play as they coast in the end to a 1-0 victory.
Credit to Stanford for the resilience, and both teams hard fought, but in the end, it's all about taking your chances, and they did tonight.
Countdown in stadium. Goal kick played out of play. There's the final whistle. It's Stanford coming on the road in the rain. Their first conference trip to Charlottesville, and they silence Klockner, winning 1-0 over Virginia.
And you feel for Virginia in some ways because of the video review decision on the red card towards Alvin Gashi. But it's all about taking advantage of the opportunities that are given to you. And you already see Austin Rome in tears because that's how much this match means. That's how much soccer in the ACC means to these household names. But there's a new sheriff in town, and it's the Cardinal of Stanford who are kicking butt and taking names so far this season, Joe.